Total nitrogen removed and irrigation management record keeping. Instructions for INMP summary reports. This video is for growers enrolled in the Central Coast Water Board's Irrigated Lands Program who are required to submit an Irrigation and Nutrient Management Plan, or INMP summary report. In this video, you will learn which records to maintain for the nitrogen removed and irrigation management sections of the INMP summary report. What is an INMP summary report? An INMP summary report is a report on all sources of total nitrogen applied to a ranch and total nitrogen removed from a ranch throughout the calendar year. It also includes information on irrigation management. The INMP summary report must include total nitrogen applied data. Please watch the Total Nitrogen Applied record-keeping video for record-keeping details on total nitrogen applied. The rest of this video will focus on total nitrogen removed and irrigation management record-keeping required for INMP summary reporting. When do growers need to begin INMP record-keeping and submit an INMP summary report? Growers must keep INMP records from January 1st to December 31st of each year so they can submit an INMP summary report on March 1st of the following year. Which groundwater phase area are my ranches in? The groundwater phase area where a ranch is located determines when growers are required to keep INMP records and submit an INMP summary report for that ranch. To find each ranch's groundwater phase area, log in to GeoTracker. The groundwater phase area is located on your GeoTracker dashboard next to each ranch name. If you have multiple ranches, please check the groundwater phase area for each individual ranch, as they could be different. Please contact Irrigated Lands Program staff if you have questions. Who is required to keep INMP records and submit an INMP summary report? Eventually, all ranches will be required to submit the INMP summary report. Growers whose ranches are in groundwater phase 1 areas should begin keeping INMP records on January 1st, 2023, or the first day they begin farming activities, so they can submit their first INMP summary report by March 1st, 2024, and then annually thereafter. Growers whose ranches are in groundwater phase 2 areas should begin keeping INMP records in 2025 so they can submit their first INMP summary report by 2026, and then annually thereafter. Growers whose ranches are in groundwater phase 3 areas should begin keeping INMP records in 2027 so they can submit their first INMP summary report by 2028 and then annually thereafter. Please keep in mind, growers whose ranches are in groundwater phase areas 2 and 3 must submit total nitrogen applied reports prior to INMP reporting. Please see the TNA record keeping video for more information. Which records are required for the total nitrogen removed and irrigation management sections of the INMP summary report? Growers are required to keep records on the amount of nitrogen removed from the field through the harvest of crop material for each specific crop, in pounds per crop acre. A grower and/or a consultant must weigh the freshly harvested crop material or use other methods to get the average weight of crop material removed in pounds per crop acre. Growers can consult an irrigation specialist or certified crop advisor to decide how to measure and report the crop harvested. A link to a list of certified crop advisors is provided below. The weight in pounds of the crop material tossed out, or the culls, at a packing facility also need to be accounted for. For crops packed in the field and removed as boxes, growers must develop and implement a method to calculate an average weight of the crop material being removed in the boxes or packing units. Growers must also determine their crop nitrogen removal conversion coefficient for each specific crop. To get this number, use either the crop-specific nitrogen removal conversion coefficient values found in the Agricultural Order 4.0 Monitoring and Reporting Program, or MRP, on page 36 in Table MRP-4, or develop your own crop nitrogen removal conversion coefficient values by following the standard protocols document in the Irrigated Lands Program website and linked in the video description below. The INMP report also provides a list in a drop-down menu that contains the crop conversion coefficients available for selection. Lastly, growers must keep records on the average irrigation crop evapotranspiration for the entire time the crop is grown. This is used to predict how much water a plant uses and evaporates, also known as evapotranspiration. To determine crop evapotranspiration, growers can find the reference evapotranspiration from the nearby CIMMYS weather stations and multiply that by their crop's irrigation coefficients. A list of coefficients is available on the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations webpage linked below. Consult an irrigation specialist or certified crop advisor to help you determine your crop's evapotranspiration values in inches. Growers can also use the UC Agriculture and Natural Resources Crop Manage website to help them determine their crop's evapotranspiration values. Which records are optional for the total nitrogen removed sections of the INMP Summary Report? Optional but encouraged methods that growers can implement to remove nitrogen from the field include sequestration, or RSEC, in woody materials of permanent or semi-permanent crops like fruit trees or raspberry canes, scavenging materials, or Scavenge, like cover crops, high carbon amendments, or high carbon woody materials, treatment technologies, or treat, like bioreactors or wetlands, and other removal methods that haven't been developed yet, or are other. Sequestration, RSEC. Keep records on the total amount of nitrogen removed from the ranch through sequestration in woody materials of permanent or semi-permanent crops, referred to as RSEC, like fruit trees or raspberry canes. The nitrogen is sequestered in the trunk and branches of these crops because it is retained for the life of the crop. The INMP Summary Report will contain a list of sequestration values for specific crops, but for all other crops not listed, contact a county crop advisor or consultant to determine crop sequestration values. Scavenging, Scavenge. Nitrogen scavenging, or Scavenge, is the nitrogen captured by cover crops that would otherwise be lost by leaching into groundwater. Cover crops can scavenge nitrogen from deep layers of soil and bring it back to the surface layers to be reused by crops. This nitrogen is also retained by the organic matter in the soil. Compost, cover crops, high carbon amendments, and high carbon woody mulch all have the potential to increase soil organic matter and therefore increase soil water retention, which reduces nitrogen leaching. Growers may claim a nitrogen scavenging credit one time per year for each ranch acre by utilizing any of the 4 Scavenge credit options, which we will now describe in more detail. Option 1. Cover crops. To claim a maximum credit of 30 pounds per acre per year for using cover crops, growers should keep records of dated photos of management practices, location of implemented practices, total physical acres where material was applied, dates of seeding, the estimated cover crop biomass and method to estimate, the type of cover crop seed, and documentation to confirm that cover crops were grown for a minimum of 3 months during the wet and rainy season to prevent nitrogen leaching, have a minimum estimated biomass of 4,500 pounds of oven dry matter per acre, or in other words, the weight of the dry matter without any moisture or water content, and they do not contain nitrogen-fixing plants. Option 2. Cover crop calculated credit. Growers may receive a higher calculated credit for certain approved cover crops by following the cover crop nitrogen scavenging credit standard protocols to determine the nitrogen concentration in the crop material. Please see the cover crop nitrogen scavenging credit standard protocols on the Irrigated Lands Program website and linked below for more information. To claim a calculated credit for using cover crops, growers must keep the same records listed for Option 1 cover crops, but also verify that the cover crop has a nitrogen to carbon ratio that is greater than or equal to 20:1. Please note vegetative food materials or crop residues left on the field are not considered cover crops and the credit may not be applied. Option 3. High carbon amendments. To claim a maximum credit of 30 pounds per acre per year for using high carbon amendments like almond shells or glycerol, growers should keep records of dated photos of management practices, location of implemented practices, total physical acres where material was applied, material and material size, material application rate per acre, and testing or documentation to confirm the material is incorporated into the first foot of soil, finely ground to less than 1/4 inch in diameter, retained for a minimum of 3 months during the wet and rainy season, has a carbon to nitrogen ratio that is greater than 30:1, and has a minimum application rate of 10,000 pounds per acre. If glycerol is used as a high carbon amendment, it must have a minimum application rate of 5,000 pounds per acre. Option 4. High carbon woody mulch materials. To claim a maximum credit of 30 pounds per acre per year for using high carbon woody mulch, growers should keep records on dated photos of management practices, location of implemented practices, total physical acres where material was applied, type of high carbon woody mulch material, and testing and/or documentation to confirm that the woody mulch material is at least 6 months of age, the material's carbon to nitrogen ratio is greater than 30:1, the woody mulch was applied at a minimum of 2-inch thickness of particles to achieve a minimum 70% ground cover, or at a minimum of 3,000 pounds per acre woody mulch application, and that the cover crop mulching practices follow recommendations outlined in the NRCS Conservation Practice Standard for Mulching, Code 484. A link to this code is available in the description below. Please keep in mind that if a grower applies cover crops, high carbon amendments, and woody mulch on every acre of their farm, the ranch may only receive a maximum scavenging credit of 30 pounds per ranch acre per year. Treatment systems or other methods, R-treat or R-other. Growers with treatment systems on their ranches and growers participating in collective treatment programs or systems, such as wetlands or denitrifying bioreactors, should monitor the total nitrogen removed from these systems. To claim a credit for these types of systems, growers should keep records on dated photos of management practices, location of implemented practices, the system description, for example, is it a wetland, bioreactor, new technology, etc., the area that occupies the treatment system or technology, the number of acres feeding water to the treatment system or technology, and the seasons and days per month that the system is operating. Growers will also need to measure and keep records on the pounds of nitrogen that are removed by the treatment or other technology. To determine nitrogen removed, monitor the inflow and outflow nitrogen concentration and output volume of the treatment system. Growers who remove nitrogen from their ranch through innovative and new technologies that are not yet developed should keep similar records to those mentioned. INMP Record-Keeping Summary. INMP records required for nitrogen removed and irrigation management reporting include the amount of nitrogen removed from the field through the harvest of crop material for each specific crop in pounds per crop acre, crop nitrogen removal conversion coefficient for each specific crop, and the irrigation crop evapotranspiration for each crop that is grown. Growers can keep optional records for sequestration or RSEC, scavenging materials, Scavenge, treatment technologies, R-treat, and other removal methods that haven't been developed yet, R-other. Why is INMP summary reporting required? The nitrogen that leaves the ranch is called nitrogen discharge. The information reported in the INMP summary report will be used to calculate the annual amount of nitrogen discharged from each ranch. In general, nitrogen discharge is the difference between the nitrogen applied minus the nitrogen removed. How is nitrogen applied to and removed from a ranch? Nitrogen can be applied to a ranch through irrigation water, fertilizer, synthetic and organic, and compost. Nitrogen can be removed from a ranch through harvest of crop material, sequestration in woody materials of permanent or semi-permanent crops like fruit trees or raspberry canes, nitrogen scavenging through cover crops, high carbon amendments, and high carbon woody mulches, treatment technologies, and new innovative techniques like a bioreactor. When the nitrogen is applied but not absorbed by the crops and it's left on the field after harvest, it can leach or seep into underground water storage basins called aquifers. If left untreated, the nitrogen concentration in the water increases over time. High concentrations of nitrogen in water are known to cause harm to those who drink it, especially young children. Excess nitrogen that moves to a surface water body, like a lake or stream, can contribute to toxic algal blooms, which make that surface water body unsafe for people and animals. Understanding the total amount of nitrogen applied to and removed from a ranch will help to reduce nitrate contamination of groundwater, lakes, and streams. Your efforts are helping create safer water for our community. How do I submit an INMP summary report? Growers who are members of the approved third-party program, Central Coast Water Quality Preservation, Inc., can contact them directly to ask about INMP summary reporting. Growers who are not members of the approved third-party program and who are complying with Ag Order 4.0 requirements individually must submit their INMP summary reports on GeoTracker. It is important to note that all growers, regardless of their third-party program member status, are required to submit the same information in their INMP summary reports. To find additional information on INMP reporting, visit the Irrigated Lands Program website. Scroll down to the I Am Looking For section and select Total Nitrogen Applied Report, Irrigation and Nutrient Management Summary Report. This page provides you detailed instructions about INMP reporting. It also provides a link to the compliance calendar available in English, Spanish, and Chinese, which provides detailed information on what is required and when. Thank you for working to protect water quality. For assistance, please email or call Irrigated Lands Program staff at agnoi@waterboards.ca.gov or call 805-549-3148. Members of the third-party program can contact Preservation, Inc. at support@ccwqp.org or call 831-761-8644.